Chase Elliott makes contact with Denny Hamlin in the last corner to go from 10th to 1st. We break down exactly what the 9 did right and what others did wrong in overtime at Kansas. Welcome into NASCAR Inside the Race. I'm your host, Steve Letarte, joined in studio today by my buddy Jamie McMurray to break down exactly what happened with Chase Elliott, 10th to 1st. There's a lot to break down, focusing on the overtime and back where Chase Elliott started, all the way back here in row 5.
Yeah, I didn't really think that Chase had a shot to be able to win this race as far back as he was. I know he had 4 tires versus the other guys having 2, but just track position was so important at Kansas.
Well, he does get a great jump out of the restart zone. I'm not sure if Byron gets a bad jump, but I think the first big thing for me right here is the 9 getting to the outside of his teammate.
Yeah, and I think a big factor that played into this is that we know Byron didn't have a good car earlier in the race. You see Chase gets to his outside, has a massive run down the backstretch. Hamlin sliding up in front of him. He had a decision to make right here. Decides to push Denny by Tyler Reddick on the inside. You see Denny Hamlin, it looks much closer from Chase's perspective inside of the car, but a good decision here. And I think Denny going to the bottom actually benefited Chase, not being directly behind him. It's put him in a good position to build momentum here down the front stretch.
Yeah, momentum was the key for the 9 of Chase Elliott. Let's go back to the overhead view and we'll fly along. So first of all, that 3-wide move we thought was possible. Onboard, it looked like there was way less room. Like I thought right here, the 9 could have actually gone like in this direction, look to the inside.
Yeah, it didn't look that way from his perspective at all, yeah.
No, I thought he was gonna run into the back of the 11. So then you talked about having the 11 go to the bottom down here in 3 and 4, right? That gave the 9 the clean air on the nose. We're gonna focus on the leaders because they're kind of making the run. As the 20 goes up, he's gonna actually get run into the wall right there. The 19 has to lift. And I think this is a big moment for the 9 as that bright blue car jumps back in the screen. He gets by the 20, which I think is gonna be a tough pass.
Yeah, and I think, being on the top let him have that momentum down the front stretch. But the 23 and the 20 getting together, them stalling out the 19 as well, it gave Chase the opportunity to get to the inside. Look, I think that Briscoe's probably in the perfect position here. Chase being right behind him, still good, gonna have that momentum. And there's most likely gonna be contact. You're just trying to have the momentum you need to get to the inside. He makes a good decision here to get to the outside of Bell. Again, the 19 slides up in front of him, but I like the fact that he got to the inside. He's gonna have, fairly clean air with the 23 going down. I think being on the new tires was a huge factor in being able to run the bottom and also carry that momentum on the exit of 2.
So now we're down the backstretch, right? And Chase is 2 wide with Briscoe. He has to somehow get rid of Briscoe, and he's watching the battle for the lead. And to remind everybody exactly what that looks like, we'll go back to the overhead. Side by side, the 9 and the 19. The 19 actually a little bit of wall kiss, has to hurt his momentum.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought the 19 was still in the preferred position, being on the top. We know as Denny and Bubba went into turn 3, not really any contact, just some air that pushed the 23 up into the wall. The 9 car, though, is in the perfect position by being on the bottom. We saw Denny try to come down and block him, but Chase mentioned he wasn't going to lift. And you see Denny crowds a 23 up. The 23 is trying to push Denny down to the bottom. It honestly looked really easy from Chase's perspective, and I think he would even admit that. Like, it's not that Chase did something spectacular. It's that all these other guys had issues and eliminated themselves.
That, I think, is the key, right? Chase won the race, and we're going to give him the credit, but momentum. He said he wasn't going to lift, and he was talking about the Denny Hamlin move, but really for the entire last 2 laps, there was never a moment where his momentum was killed. Other people's mistakes kind of fell in his lap, and he took advantage.
Circumstances. It reminded me a lot of a super speedway type race where it's not this dramatic move that somebody does in order to get the win. It's all the other people around them making decisions that benefit them.
So let's talk about the drivers that had issues. So when I look at the lineup, to be honest, I wasn't looking at Chase back in row 5.
I wasn't either.
Right, so I thought, where was it going to come, right? So I thought that Bubba had a chance. I thought the 20 had a chance. I thought the 19 was in a good spot. All of our eyes were on probably Hamlin and Larson. Like, I think those 5 cars, I don't highlight Reddick just because they didn't have a great car all day. I didn't know if he had the firepower sitting on 2 tires to pass any of those cars.
Yeah, so Briscoe was the one that I had my eye on here. I felt like you were probably going to see some contact between the 23 and the 20. Briscoe all day long had chose the outside and was able to make the very top work. I thought he would be able to have the momentum that he needed, and I thought he made a lot of good decisions. You see Denny right here, though, gives Chase just a little bit of a push. Overall, as you watch this lap evolve, the 11 does the best job, I think, on decision-making, where he went. You see he goes to the middle right here, again, trying to get a little bit of that clean air. Being able to slide up in front of Chase right here was huge. He gets this massive run down the backstretch. And as I watched where Denny placed his car in all of these circumstances, I thought he did a perfect job. And honestly, even as we get towards the end, you see right here, He gets inside of Briscoe as they have that contact with Bell. As they go down into turn 1 and you watch Denny, he's gonna run high. Again, trying to generate just a little bit of the momentum, have clean air. He gets a little bit of a run off the top. I kind of felt like he was going to try to get to the outside. We saw Larson be able to win here last year by being to the outside. Bubba maybe needs to block right here as Denny gets to his inside. The one thing that I don't think anyone pointed out, there's no contact. Air obviously pushed the 23 up. We know with this particular car, drivers talk about the side draft. It's not that the outside guy gets the inside loose. It's that the inside guy makes the outside guy get tight and they slide up the racetrack.
Yeah, and my CSI investigation would say they are tire to tire. So if there's real contact, like firm contact, we would see some tire smoke.
I find that interesting.
So no doubt Denny Hamlin shoving the 23 up with the air, but it wasn't like a body slam.
It wasn't at all, and I think that's really important to point out. It does, however, they have to barely check up, lose that little bit of a momentum, and that put Chase in a great position. But I thought Denny overall, without the contact of the 23, the fact that he was able to get to his inside, I thought Denny did a perfect job, all with the exception of losing that little bit of momentum on the exit.
So I want to go to Chase Briscoe. He said in his interview it was the exit of 4 that basically hurts his chance to pass or to win the race right here. So let's go on board, because not only did he have a chance, but he had the greatest view. I loved right here. Car wasn't quite good enough to get to the right rear quarter panel of the 20. If you could have done that, 3 wide down the back, there's no telling. But really focus on the exit of 4, and we're going to let you listen into the engine. When he says lift, it's a very small lift. 20's going to get shoved up, stays in the gas, 19's hard in the gas. Now listen.
It honestly doesn't even sound like he lifts. It's so small right there, but you see the run that Denny's able to get onto his inside and then get back up in front of Chase.
And I think this is the best view really of the battle. You see out the left-hand side over my left shoulder, the 9 of Chase Elliott showing up. But then right here, this is the battle between the 11 and the 23. I'm gonna stop it right here. You mentioned a block. So do you like that Bubba forced Denny to the bottom? Like if you're in Bubba's seat, where can't the 11 go? If he's going to get next to you, can he not get to your outside? Do you like the bottom?
I think it's a great question, and historically, I think you would always want to be on the outside at Kansas. We saw Larson get to the outside of Buescher last year and able to have the momentum off, but the one thing that was unique this weekend at Kansas is that in the Xfinity race and the Cup race, the bottom was, I don't want to say it was better, but it was better than we've seen in the past there, and I don't know why that was, but we saw drivers all talking about how the bottom just had more grip, and I don't know that it had more grip. I think the top maybe has lost a little bit of grip. You see both the 11 is a little bit high. You see the 23 is also just a little bit low right here.
So wait. The bottom and the top are good, and we have both cars in neither. They're running the middle of the race.
Well, they're going where they need to, and Bubba's going to cheat that corner down a little bit, because if he runs all the way up against the wall, the distance there, Denny's going to be able to slide up in front of him. And now you can do a crossover, and we saw that a lot early in the race. I've been in this position on the last lap. It was for the All-Star race for $1 million with Carl Edwards. And when you go into a corner like that, it's just both of you you're not gonna lift until you hit something, right? And that's the mindset. And I think it's a little bit different as we think about Denny Hamlin and the fact that he won both stages. He dominated this race.
Oh yeah.
And the pit stop is ultimately what got him behind. His mindset going into this is like, this is my race, guys. Listen, I have dominated it. I want to win this. Obviously, Bubba has all this on the line with the playoffs, the fact that that advances him to the round 8. This is what we sign up for. Kansas has produced incredible finishes, and this was another one.
All right, owner to the left, driver to the right. I love the fact that I think that's the driver of the 11, not the owner of 2311. You've raced against all of these guys. What was your thoughts just on that, the political standpoint of that, of him being an owner-driver? Do you like what Hamlin did, or was it egregious against the car that he owns?
I think Denny has proven over the years since being an owner that he doesn't put that into play when he's racing. And it's very easy for us on the outside when you see the points and you see everything that's on the line of if the 23 wins, what happens then? When you're in Denny's position, though, you're not thinking about that. I mean, it's selfish. That's the word. That's the word that we think about. You find any great race car driver, great athlete in general, they're very selfish people. Denny was going to do what he had to do to be able to win this race. He talked about it being his 60th win. I don't think he really cares about the 23 at this point.
Well, you buy tickets for this right here. I mean, if it's contact, it's almost non-existent, and then the 9 sneaks his way through. The move we all talked about, the shot into the door of the 11, and there it was. Chase Elliott, second win of the season. More importantly for the 9 in this situation, it has advanced him in the playoffs. He's now on to the round of 8.